Topic we're going to talk about again today is something that's been going around. Everybody knows it's on the internet. Uncle Ted was down to the state last week and voiced his concern and his opinion about what was going on here in the state of Michigan as far as the baiting ban, and kind of his opinion, his take of what is out there and what the scientific proof. And he had a lot of good points. He had a lot of things that I think all of us are thinking about. And Ted is a good spokesperson. He's done a lot of great for our industry. There's a couple things when I was listening to that kind of worry me on both sides of it. This whole I'm going to use the word eruption is getting a little out of hand. And when that happens, as we all know, we're all a team. We all have hunting goals. We all have hunting knowledge. We all have different opinions. We all have different strategies. But at the end of the day, we're all hunters. And there's so many things that can happen during the course of the year that divide us as the hunting public. And what worries me is this goes on farther, is this topic of this bait ban that has been placed on us here in Michigan, on the Lower Peninsula anyway. That's something we'll talk about, but just the Lower Peninsula for right now. What worries me is it's getting to a point where it's creating diversion. And if you followed along with some of my videos, this is what I have talked about in some of my videos with some other off-topic things that we won't get into right now, as far as APRs and mandating antler point restrictions and stuff like that cause hunting drama, and how to cure it. So I'm not here to tell you that this is the only way and this has to happen, and if it doesn't happen, nothing else is going to work. What I am here going to talk to you about is my experiences and what I feel that we need to do as a hunting community to try to make this work. Now, all of you know, my profession, my career is designing, managing, implementing trophy whitetail properties, or I hate the word trophy, but whitetail properties across the state and the Midwest. And by doing that, I'm in contact with a lot of people that have all different opinions, from baiting is God to baiting is the devil. So when you have that spectrum of people that have that different opinions, and my opinions as well, and my experiences, I'm able to form a lot of what I feel is pretty concrete facts and topics to go off from. So as I go through here, just keep in mind that I've wrote some stuff down, and just keep in mind that this is a trial and error situation, and baiting has been available to the hunting community here in Michigan for so many years that I do feel that it's wrong for a lot of folks, and myself maybe in the past, that I've got to a point where you just say that baiting is horrible and you need to stop, and if you bait, you're not a hunter. As Ted said, Russ Mason, I think with the DNR, kind of overturned his wheelbarrow there when he said that people that bait are not conservationists. And I strongly disagree with that, because it's not. That's the baiting and conservation and hunting as a whole is not a switch that you can say if you bait, you're not a conservationist, and if you don't, you're the greatest thing in the hunting industry. It doesn't work that way. So a couple things here. As you can see, I have a bag of feed here, and what we've always done, have baited over the years on and off Some properties that we've hunted, we have baited. Some properties that we hunt, we don't bait. Private land and versus state land. So what I use and what I try to talk to folks about is the power of not baiting, and but that's an educational thing. That comes with having your property able to sustain and be able to see the amount of deer that everybody likes to see. I mean, let's face it, we only have X amount of days to hunt. The majority of the hunting public only has X amount of days to hunt, and because of work and life and kids and sports and everything else that ties into it. So people want to get to a point where they can see deer, and they don't want their kids to not love hunting because they don't see deer, and that's a valid point. So not baiting and having the property to sustain a functional or a perfect hunting situation does tie together. So how do we get over the hurdle of what is this and what it, who uses it, who doesn't, and how it works, and if we should do it, or what happens, or does it spread disease or doesn't it? And I think this is where this is all going. I actually just called and left a message with Chad Stewart. I was hoping to hear back from him this morning to go over a couple things that we have talked about in the past. Chad is in charge of with the Michigan DNR. He's in charge of the deer and the elk, and he's got a lot of valid points, and I've never had an issue that I haven't been able to talk to Chad about, or that the two of us haven't reached out to each other and chatted about it. He's always been pretty knowledgeable and helpful. So, and I believe Chad's a hunter himself. So taking that, going back to the bag of bait here, what I have sitting here is, we used to buy it by the ton, and I would go in and I have my own blend, and it's a grain blend, so it's a sweet feed blend that I've used. And what we always did is implemented sugar beets. I'm not a fan of carrots at all, but we always implemented sugar beets as we went on, and those cooler temperatures came in, mainly around that rifle season time period. And why is that? Because it's a climate issue. If you're putting bait out too early, that's a whole produce. It has a tendency to rot, and believe it or not, deer don't like rotten food. So that's why I went to this. And so we had a couple bags of it left, and as you can see, the bag is still tied. It was in the shop, and I have 2 bags of it left, 2 50-pound bags. And a lot of folks that I'm seeing aren't able to take the restraint to keep these bags closed. And I've been on these properties and talking to these clients here lately, and the topic that I'm seeing more of is, I'm seeing a lot of people just have this mentality that we're going to bait, whether it's legal or not. I'm going to bait. The state's not going to tell me that I can't bait. And there's, believe it or not, on my YouTube channel, if you've been following along with that, on the last video that we did early this spring, there's a gentleman on there that states that they're going to bait whether that's legal or not, and they're actually making a fund, I guess, to help people pay their fines. So here's the facts. These are the facts that we have to deal with. Baiting in the Lower Peninsula is illegal. Period. Grains, produce, sugar beets, carrots, it's illegal. So I highly recommend that you take that into consideration, because the worst thing that you could possibly do is to have a situation where you're not able to hunt in the future because of what decision that you made this year and got busted baiting. This could be a 10-year situation where not only yourself or your kids aren't able to hunt because you've elected to bait. And I know of a handful of people that baited during the youth season, and it's absolutely ridiculous. It needs to stop. So on that same side here is one of the topics is every store from everywhere in our area is selling bait, and I think that's another huge thing that needs to stop. It's a very crucial topic that we need to talk about. If it's illegal, it should be illegal to sell it. If it's illegal to place it, it should be illegal to sell it. Now, if it's legal in the UP and people want to pay the shipping to have that brought up there to their stores in the UP, I think that should be allowed to do. I mean, you should be able to buy it where you're able to use it, not be able to buy it where it's illegal. It just doesn't make sense. It's like buying alcohol in a dry county. I mean, if you're selling alcohol in a dry county, and if somebody that don't know what a dry county is in the Midwest, they're all over. You can't buy alcohol in a dry county. You can go to the next county and buy it. What happens is then that county sells it and it comes back into the county and they're still using it. So what did you gain? You didn't gain anything. So if it's illegal, it's illegal. So just like drinking, if you sell a drink to someone in a bar, you can't guarantee that the person's not going to go out and drink and drive on the road and get a ticket for drinking and driving. Is it illegal? Yes, it is. Are they going to do it? Yes. So as you can see, this all ties in, and it's a very heated subject that's happening in our industry here. But here's a few things that I think that we need to look at. So one of the topics is the apple tree theory. The apples fall, they grow on the tree naturally, they fall, the deer eat them, and like Uncle Ted is explaining, is there's nothing different than taking those apples that fall on the ground and those deer eat it. There's nothing different than taking those apples and moving those to a location and in front of your stand so you or your kids can hunt over it. I don't agree with that. I think that if you take those 90% of the time, you're not going to take those apples that are in a hunting situation from a tree that's on your property. You're going to buy those apples or those sugar beets or those carrots, and you're going to put those in a hunting situation. Now, here's a couple of things. One, that whole produce, I like to call it as whole produce. That whole produce that you're moving, it's like taking kids when they start school and putting them before school all summer long. They never get sick, and you take those kids and you throw them all into, teachers included, you throw them all into one building, and all of a sudden now you have 20, 30, 40 kids absent a day because they're all sick. Why is that? And the reason is because you've taken all those kids from the outside of that building, that hunting location, and you've put them all in one, and now they're spreading they're spreading germs and they're spreading everything. Now, two different platforms, I mean, human and deer. Is there any scientific proof that baiting spreads the disease of CWD? No, it doesn't. But there is a logic, a common sense knowledge that'll tell you that it could happen. It could enhance the spread of CWD. So if it can enhance the chance to spread CWD, why, as a hunting community, would we not stop this right then and there, right now? So that brings me to the topic of the DNR. This is my opinion, that's your opinion, we're all talking about this, but the DNR have 6 counties in the Lower Peninsula that have been, that they found CWD in 1 county in the UP. Now, they found these last year during the hunting season when bait was illegal, and they didn't stop it right then. Supposedly CWD is this disease that can kill off a whole large amount of deer in a hurry, and it's not proven yet, but can it or can it not be spread to humans? And if CWD was as bad as they say it is, in my opinion, they would have stopped baiting immediately, hands down, immediately last year. Absolutely no baiting in the UP where they found it, and in the Lower Peninsula at all. No baiting, period. Done deal. Nobody baits. Because if you're a mile from the county line in Mecosta County where they shut it down, and you're in that area where it's only a couple miles just south of where I'm at here, that you can be in 4 counties in a 2-mile section, what's saying that those deer aren't traveling into the other county? So to me, that was like, okay, if it's as horrible as they say it was, why didn't they shut it down? And that brings me into the topic of why is the Upper Peninsula still allowed to bait? So I think they take that into consideration. I think what's happening in the UP is the economy in the UP is totally different than it is in the Lower Peninsula, and that is an area that strives and that makes their money during the go time of the hunting season. And I have great friends up there. For those of you that don't know, we've spent a lot of my childhood in the UP. My kids have spent a lot of time in the UP, and we have a lot of good friends up there. Have a lot of good friends that, or have a really good family friend that had owned a bar and a store up there, and has, you know, that's how they've made a lot of their money, tourists, and during the hunting season. So I have a soft spot in my heart for those, because I don't want to see, nobody wants to see those little mom and pop shops go upside down. That's not the theory. But if something happens and those deer, whether it's CWD, it's TB, whether it's blue tongue, whether it's EHD, whatever that comes through that destroys these deer herds, if you don't have deer, whether you're baiting or not, you're not going to have anything to bait in the future for those mom and pop shops to stay alive anyway. So I question, like, if it's illegal in the Lower Peninsula, why is it legal in the UP? So that's one thing that I'm going to talk to Chad Stewart about. Like, explain to me why this is happening. Explain to me why you can buy bait in the Lower Peninsula where it's illegal, and you can take it to the UP, and you can still bait in the UP, and you found chronic wasting disease up there as well. To me, if it's going to be shut down, it needs to be shut down, and it needs to be shut down completely until it's scientifically proven where we're at here and what causes it, what it doesn't. So going forward, I have these questions like, what do I recommend? What do I recommend to my clients? How do I go about talking about this? And this is what I recommend. One, it's illegal in the Lower Peninsula. So as sportsmen, as conservationists, we need to respect those decisions of the DNR. No one's always going to agree with it. Everyone's not going to agree with me. You're not going to agree with Uncle Ted. So you're never going to, everybody's not a Trump fan. So there's a lot of things in life that we're not going to disagree or agree on. The fact of the matter is, it's illegal to bait in the Lower Peninsula of Michigan. So I recommend to my clients, and I'm recommending to you guys that are watching, don't do it, period. Stop doing it, so you don't stand a chance of getting turned in, getting a ticket, ruining your hunting for the future, your hunting and your kids' hunting. Because if you get busted and your kids are hunting with you over that bait, your kids are going to get a ticket just as well as you're going to get a ticket, and it's a spiral effect that could get out of control here. So so I guess on that aspect, to give them the benefit of the doubt, it's a law. We didn't make the law, they passed the law. We've got to live with it until it's proven. Now, what do I think is the best mutual grounds for the entire state of Michigan? Because if what I always say to everybody is, if you're in an argument and you have if you're pointing your finger at people and you don't have a solution, it's an insult. If you're in a heated topic and you don't have a solution, it's an insult. And if you start insulting, people get hot and heavy in a hurry, and things get out of control. So in this business, especially, what I always try to do is I try to always have a solution. Like, how do you get to the next step? My solution is, because I've seen this firsthand in a lot of the other Midwestern states, and I feel that here's my 2 cents. Whole produce baiting needs to go. Sugar beets, carrots, and it needs to go. Whole produce baiting needs to be gone. And the reason that is I feel that anytime you put those whole produce in that large of a quantity where they cannot consume it all within a one meal, I guess you could say, a one-stop shop, the saliva is on there. They're eating the same sugar beet. Yes, they're eating the same apples that fall under the tree, but these are put in certain locations where if there's You know, as Uncle Ted said, there's a billion apple trees in the state of Michigan. I agree with that. There probably is a billion apple trees in the state of Michigan. But if there's a billion apple trees in the state of Michigan and baiting is legal, now we have a billion bait piles. So now you have double the chance of something happening. So if it's proven that that can happen, that saliva really does transmit this disease, and I think the more research you're going to find here coming is it does. That's where it comes. So the prions and everything that everybody's talking about, that's where it comes from. Now, can I say, can you say, can Uncle Ted say that it can or can't happen? No. But is it a better chance of eating those whole produce, that sugar beet or that carrot, and gnawing on it for 2-3 days before it's gone? This deer, that deer, your neighbor's deer, all these deer in the state are chewing on this, in this area, are chewing on this bait, and there's a better chance. So how do we cure it? My recommendation is so that there's a mutual grounds here. The state a couple of years ago went to the 2 gallons minimum of baiting, and I think that there's a solution that that 2 gallons can still be implemented. So you take 2 gallons, if you put a sugar beet, or you put 2 or 3 sugar beets in there, you're not going to get very much bait. But if you take 2 gallons and you use a sweet feed or a corn or a corn base or a mixture, you can get, it's actually a lot of food. And so those of the guys that wanted to bait can still continue to bait if we allowed 1 bite bait. And if we allow 1 bite bait, when the deer, any deer, come into that area and they are able to eat this 1 bite bait, it's this here has corn, shelled corn. Never use cracked corn. So make sure you're listening on that. Is never feed cracked corn ever. It destroys the intestines of a deer. I was in a high fence ranch managing at one time, and it's going to be huge destruction. So don't go down that road. Whole corn. This has oats. This has molasses, and it has some other mineral in it. So that is the way that I feel that this can be a mutual ground for everybody in the state. Keep it to a minimum. Use a 2 gallon minimum. Spread over a 10 by 10 area. Everybody can still bait, but it's not the whole produce where it elevates the chance of saliva being transferred. The gas stations will still be able to sell it, and everybody will continue on with life and still have a baiting mutual ground. So something to keep in mind is these hunting icons or hunting legends that you see, let's say on the Outdoor Channel, that are able to hunt on these parcels that are large parcels, and they're able to only focus their attention on certain stands at certain times when one, the wind is correct, 2, they're not over hunting these parcels. So when we're designing these properties and putting these together, I don't, like I was saying before, I don't like to implement these stands and these locations on these destination food plots. And that's where these come in, because you have to be able to get out of there without being busted. So, you know, everybody asks me that all the time. Well, why do the Mark and Terry's and of the world get to do that? And because they have multiple different stand locations in multiple different areas, and they only hunt that one spot when it's right, and they get in, get out, get the job done, and they're not over hunting it back to back to back. So where the food plot comes in is that side of it. If you don't have the food plot or the means to build the food plot, if and when, like I said before, if and when this happens, this reversal that they're talking about may happen, this, like I was saying before, is a powerful tool. You just have to use it as a tool with the right mindset. In other words, put this bait in like those areas, like we were saying before, over a spread out area that you can, you know, that's 200-300 yards, 100 yards past where you are, out in a field location or something, to promote these deer to go past you and hunt those transition areas. It's a huge tool. It can be done, but to answer the questions that I've been getting, and to in a closing, I highly believe that we do not need the bait in the state of Michigan. I have said it before, and I'll say it again, and I'll take it to my grave, that Michigan, there's nothing that the Midwestern states have, the go-to states have, that Michigan doesn't have. The only thing we don't have is we're not as polished yet on our management. And that comes with me, that comes with you, that comes with the whole hunting community. But what it doesn't entail is a diversion made by who baits and who doesn't, who's a conservationist, who isn't a conservationist, and that needs to stop. So what we need to do is the DNR, the Michigan DNR, like them, love them, hate them, they are the legislator. They are the lawmakers and the go-to on in the state of Michigan for, and any state for that matter. The DNR is the law, and the law is right now in the lower peninsula of Michigan there's no baiting. So I feel that we need to take that word and show our support for their determinations in a classy manner, instead of every social media page scattered across the country, everybody being, whether you still live in Michigan or you don't, everybody being at each other's throats all the time isn't going to make baiting come back. My fear is it's only going to make it worse. The more that we try to dictate what we want to happen, what's going to happen, what we're going to do, whether what the law says, what the law doesn't, I fear that what you're going to see is laws get tighter and stricter, and then the people that don't have the time to make the transition are just going to be forced into not hunting at all. So in closing, at the end of the day, the law is the law, and we need to find a way to reunite as far as sportsmen and conservationists, whether you bait or you don't bait. So no matter what Uncle Ted has said, or what the DNR has said, or what you believe, what I believe, there has to be a mutual grounds. And that's why I wanted to come to you today to talk to you about what I've been told and what I've learned, and through the DNR and through my own personal experiences, and what I feel this one bite bait can help us all get to that point, and so we can move on with life and become one as a hunting community again. Thanks, guys.